All right, we're going to go right into factors that move the grip handle forward so that we can compress our iron shots. So going into this, I think there's three key parameters that I think that help us as players be able to move the grip handle forward. Okay? I think the one that gets a lot of us in trouble is we think all we need to do is try and pull the grip handle forward. Okay? So one of the issues with this right here is like the way that I tried to create shaft lean when I was younger is I'd be in setup right here. I'm trying to pull the grip handle forward as much as I can. Well, a lot of times what happens is the arms start to actually leave the chest. The arms leave the chest. The radius gets shorter, and we can see now I'm left with I can't get the golf club down to the ball. And then we move into it, and the handle starts to stand up. So I think it's important to have a concept of what our key areas are that help us influence from face on here, moving the grip handle forward. And also, I think a big piece of this right here, everybody watching this, is it's not so much how much shaft lean we create, it's where we get the grip in relation to its interaction with the turf and interaction with the golf ball. Okay? So let's start with that right there. So if we call this right here, if we call this low point, so ball joint of my lead shoulder, that's not far off of the amount of shaft length that I need to create here at impact to where the handle's on my lead leg, my pressures forward, etc. Okay? So it's not too far off from where that actually is. So we're not looking to take this angle, which let's say this is 7 degrees, and move this another 10 degrees forward. Because what starts to happen if you watch this from down the line is the more I move this grip handle forward, there's my swing direction. So that's going to be opening the face in relation to the target, which now we have to try and close this. And that creates, if we're able to make contact with it, that can create a massive hook. I've even seen it create shanks with players. Okay? So we're not looking to lean the handle 20 some degrees right here. Okay? We need enough of it to project our inward to outward path if we're trying to draw it. That's really about it. Okay? So if we go into the factors that actually move, that have a pretty big influence on moving the grip handle forward, here's what I would say number 1, number 2, and number 3 are. So the first factor that I would go into is a horizontal movement. So if I'm here at lead arm parallel, if you watched, if I drew a line straight down here from the grip, and I have a horizontal drive, I'm not changing my arms. That's moving the grip closer to the golf ball. That's one of our areas that can help us to influence shaft lean when it's done correctly. Okay, so horizontal movements or linear movement, I don't necessarily think that this is a bad thing right here. That would be one. Now another movement that helps us move the grip handle forward. So let's say we've gotten our horizontal piece into where the lead hip is over the lead shoe. Now if I add some rotation, that also moves the grip handle in a forward direction right there. Okay, so you've got two movements right here that help us move the grip handle forward. Now another one that I would add is lead arm going from adduction, where it's on the chest, to abduction. That's also going to move the grip handle forward. The trail arm would be going from AB, abduction, to adduction. That's also what's helping us move the hand path around the arc right here. So we've got 3 key parameters that help us influence this. Horizontal, rotation, and then abduction, adduction. The lead arm and the trail arm. Okay, so those are our real key factors that we need to be able to control that are going to help us lean the shaft, compress the irons, make the golf ball go or the direction that we want it to. Now, I wish it was that simple, as I said. Now just go add horizontal movement, a little bit of rotation, and adduction, abduction. Okay, so I'm going to add a drill piece into here. And I'm going to explain one other piece that I think helps make this a little bit easier. So when I look at players that struggle with leaning the shaft, I think a lot of times we see a couple different things. I am a fan of the handle being forward. I think some people get this handle so far forward, this radius gets so short, that they have to stand up now to try and create speed. Well, as I'm going into an upward movement, I can't continue to drive this handle forward because this club head has to get down to the golf ball, which is why a lot of us look like this at impact. I know when I was younger, I thought the answer was, well, I need to get lower and I need to get the handle more forward. And the more I would do that, the more up I would go. And I would still lose that angle in the golf club and I wouldn't lean the shaft and compress my irons. So I'd say it starts now from down the line. I think we have to have a pretty good plane angle set. I'd say it needs to be somewhere with like a 7-iron, around 55 degrees, which for most of us is going to point this grip somewhere right around where our belt line is. So I'd make sure that we have that piece set up right there. I could go into the whole setup. Let's leave that for another video. Or we can watch one of the other videos that I've done on setup that might help you. So if we start with this, we have the handle here. Now, when I look at myself right here, what I used to have an issue with is my grip and my arms would stop and my club head would start to outrace the grip. So what you can see from here, from face on, is I get the club head a lot higher than the grip, a heck of a lot faster. So I think what we need to do is we need to change the roll and we need to set a new goal and set a new commitment of trying to actually keep the grip higher than the club head. Because if I look at this relationship and I bring this back, that's still very similar to what I had. It's set up right there. Now, is this golf club going to eventually straight line? Yes, there is a release in the golf swing. This is not me asking everybody watching this video to try and hold the face off. Because what I see this turn into far too often, I see it turn into this number, and then we have the club face wide open to the leading edge of the shaft, and we hit the golf ball dead right, stick it in the ground, etc. Okay? So this isn't going to be what the goal is. So how we're going to do this is we're going to start. I would recommend starting with half shots. And what I want you to feel is we're going to take the grip. We're going to move it just in front of the golf ball. So there's a minute amount of shaft lean in this. I want you to feel like we're actually brushing the ground and keeping the grip higher than the club head. Now, your relationship with this, I'll do this from face on so you can see it in this camera as well. Your relationship with this is this club face, the leading edge of this face, still needs to be square or probably slightly closed to the leading edge of the shaft. This would be open. This would be way too closed. That would be pretty neutral right there. Okay, so what we're going to set as a goal here is to keep the grip higher than the club head as long as possible to start. So our first shots are just going to be a shaft parallel, keeping the grip higher than the club head. So I'd be in here. That would be my very first place right there. Okay? Should be a pretty clean sweep along the ground because this club head as well now has a long time to square up because we're not just throwing the hands at it. We're maintaining the length of the radius on both sides of the arc right there to allow us to create a circle. Okay, so that would be the first part. Once we get that part in, then we can add component 2 and component 3. Okay, so we can add our horizontal movement. And then my next piece that I would say, we're going to finish 90, 90, 90 at the target. And we might actually try and still keep this grip at least level with where the club head is. Now I'm going to go neutral setup, halfway back, pressure forward 90, 90, 90, keeping the club head lower than the grip. This would be my look. Now we should start to see a little bit more turf interaction. Now, when performed correctly, we would catch the golf ball before we catch the ground. The ball should start a little bit right. The height of the shot should come out lower, and the ball should draw. That would be for the right-handed player starting right. The left-handed player will start a little more left. So we'd be in here. I'm going to go back, pressure forward, grip stays higher than the club head, 90, 90, 90. And this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to lengthen it just a little bit right here. That was an absolutely perfect strike. Ball started right and it drew. And I could feel that this golf club was leaning more. So I think it's very important that we have, when we're trying to create shaft lean, we need to understand what the concept is. I think it's very important to understand the factors that go into this. Now, is this the only way to lean the shaft? No. We see players that do actually create more just pure rotation to do it. I'm not saying that that isn't achievable, and I'm not saying that that doesn't work. I think there's easier ways to do it. For the vast majority of us, this is the way that I would do it. I would combine these three areas right here, because I think when we create the horizontal movement, it allows us to extend significantly easier. When we have pressure forward and we create force, this helps propel the spine into extension as we are taking this around to a 90, 90, 90 finish. So that's my reasoning for why, and what I would call my model. That's why I would like to see it. And this is how I explain it. So there's our three keys. Okay. Make sure you give those a go. If you have any questions on this, let me know. There's our way to start leaning the shaft. I hope you enjoyed this video here. If you haven't, please click that subscribe button. You can also click the bell right there, and that's going to notify you every time that I release a new YouTube video. Also, if you haven't, check out that last video that I did. It's right here, pinned to the screen. Thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave those below, and I will make sure I get back to each and every one of you. So, thank you again. Appreciate your support. We'll see you next time.